For about 5, 6, 7 years, I suffered from something called chronic fatigue syndrome. And I think a lot of people suffer from it, especially in the West and especially in the United States. And basically, I would get 8, 9 hours of sleep and I'd wake up feeling like a zombie. Always tired, always having low energy. And I was really desperate, and that took me down this rabbit hole where I started reading this guy named Nassim Taleb. He's written a bunch of books on how to live anti-fragile, how to live life in a way where you minimize disorder and you live as healthily as you can. And that he mentioned a guy in the book named, his last name is LaCour. He's a paleo guy. And that took me down the paleo rabbit hole. And I changed my diet. Eventually I got into a keto diet, and that fixed, I would say, maybe about 5 to 7% of the problem. And the rest, I discovered this guy named Dr. Jack Kruse. I went down this other rabbit hole, and he's a neurosurgeon based in the United States, and he talks a lot about quantum biology and the relation with light and health, and how light, he says that light is the most important aspect of health because light tunes your hormones and it affects how much energy is created in your cells through your mitochondria. You probably remember that from the 9th grade. It's the powerhouse of the cell. But it turns out that the sun has massive effects on how your body produces this energy. And it's a huge deal. So I went down that rabbit hole. And one of the things that I started doing was this 30-day reset where I would get as much natural light as possible and try to minimize as much blue light or artificial light at nighttime as possible. So I did a 30-day experiment. I would wake up every morning with the sun, and I would immediately go outside and watch the sun rise. And I did that for about a half hour. And what you do is you just watch it rise, and you look off about 15 degrees off the surface, off the side of the sun. And the sun is dim enough that it's not going to affect your eyes. It's not going to hurt your eyes. And you do that for, 15 minutes will work too, but I would do it for about 30 minutes. And then I made sure to stay outside, to be outside from the hours of 7:30 to 10, because Dr. Kruse says that those are the hours when the sun has the most infrared light. And it so happens that infrared light tunes our hormones. It gets the whole hormone cascade going for us to feel good and be healthy during the day. So that includes things like dopamine and also melatonin. Melatonin development actually happens in the morning, and it's tuned by the red light in the sun. So the best way to get a better night's sleep is not to take supplements, but to gaze at the sun, to be outside. A, gaze at the sun once it rises, and then B, be outside from the hours of about 7:30 to 10. And that's going to get you back to health. So that protocol, I did that for 30 days, and within even 2 weeks, I felt immediately better. I felt like I had so much more energy. And that fixed about 85% of the problem. There was still a little piece of it where I was feeling like it's not fully fixed. And Jack Kruse, at the time, he happened to live in New Orleans, and he wrote an article about the perfect place to live. And he said that if you want to get healthy, you're never going to get healthy in the environment that you got sick in. And he suggests to people that they should move as close to the equator as possible if they have any kind of a chronic disease, because that's where you're going to get the most sun, and also you're going to be spending the most time outside in those areas. So he says you want to move to below the 28th latitude. 20th latitude on the map is the area, if you look at the east to west, it's below, like around Louisiana, Georgia, basically the Gulf Coast, and then, all the way to California. But he says you want to move to that region of the country, and he says the Gulf Coast is perfect because the sun has a lot of UV, and it's perfect for tuning your hormones and getting back into shape. So that was the second thing I did. At the time, I was living in Virginia, where there were pretty brutal winters. So, I would get my summer sun, and then in the wintertime, I would feel feel bad again. So I finally made the move to New Orleans 2 years ago, and now it just so happens that I had some family down here too. So I'd visit quite often, and I got to know the city very well. But it's a wise choice if you're feeling sick, wherever you are, and you have low energy. The optimal solution is to, if you can, to plan a move down to either the Gulf region or the 20th latitude, or even somewhere on the equator, if you want to live abroad. And that worked perfectly, and that got me to 100%. And in fact, I exercise less, and I would say I don't eat as well here. I do still maintain a paleo diet, but the food here is just so rich and so delicious. It's hard to resist sometimes with the po' boys and all of that stuff. So I eat less well, I would say, overall, and I also don't exercise as much. I go to the gym maybe twice a week. I used to go 3-4 times a week. But I feel much healthier now than I did when I was living up in Virginia, just because purely based on the fact that I get a lot more sun. So that made a huge difference. So I would challenge anybody who's feeling like they have low mood or energy to do a 30-day sun challenge, where you get out every morning and you watch the sunrise. Gaze off 15 degrees off to the side of the sun for maybe 10-15 minutes, and then be outside till about 10 a.m. And I know it's tough for a lot of people because a lot of us have indoor jobs. If you could set yourself up in a way where you can maybe take your laptop outside with you and work in the mornings, that's going to make a massive difference. And then around noon, try to get as much midday sun as you can, because that's when the sun has more ultraviolet radiation in it than infrared, and that's why it goes from red or orange, reddish orange to the yellow, because it just has more ultraviolet light. And that the UV is going to stimulate vitamin D production, and that's where that comes from. So that's very important to do. And then at the end of the day, also, you want to spend about 15 minutes watching the sun go down, and it's going to retune your circadian rhythm. A lot of us, one of the reasons that we get sick so often and we have such high rates of chronic diseases is because our hormones are out of balance, and you get them back in balance by using the sun.